Greetings from the House of Representatives here at your Georgia State Capitol. Today marks the end of the 7th week of the 2012 legislative session. The 28th day of the session was held this week. Next week will bring the 29th and 30th day. The 30th day is one of the most important days of the session. It's called crossover day because each chamber has to move its bills over to the other chamber by that day, or the bills are dead, will be dead. So that means there will be a large volume of effort to pass a lot of legislation, and from our side a lot of effort to block bad legislation for your clients and your practices. Let me talk to you first about a few issues that we've worked on this week that are important to your practices and your clients. First, the House Bill 397 is a bill dealing with the open records and open meetings law. This bill, as originally introduced, would have precluded litigants from using Open Record Act requests. We amended the bill in committee to make sure that litigants may continue to use Open Records Act requests. There also was an amendment that would have allowed governmental agencies to charge attorneys' fees for reviewing Open Record Act requests, and we were helpful in defeating an amendment to that effect. GTLA now supports this bill. It has passed out of committee and will be on the House floor this coming week. Another bill of importance to your practice is House Bill 658, dealing with the present value of future damages. As introduced, this bill would have required parties to use expert testimony in every case where the issue of present value and future damages was at issue. We amended the bill to provide that you can use either expert testimony or the standard 5% discount rate to educate a jury about how they are to go about reducing future damages to present value. And we also limited this provision so that it applies only to economic damages. Finally, an amendment that we offered and was accepted by the committee will prohibit the introduction of evidence of specific annuities so that parties can't tell a jury about specific annuities and a case then dissolve into a battle over what is an appropriate investment option for your client. Another bill of importance to your practice and to your clients involves workers' compensation and the rights of injured workers. House Bill 971 passed the full House this week. It passed and now heads to the State Senate. Despite much controversy initially, the bill now no longer contains the medical treatment guidelines or a torture provision that would have addressed the case of the ex parte communications case of McCrae versus Arby's that is pending cert before the state Supreme Court right now. That provision out of the bill. Remaining now are 5 relatively innocuous provisions that keep in balance our workers' compensation system here in Georgia. GTLA will continue monitoring this bill as it moves through the Senate, beginning probably next week in the Senate Insurance Committee. The final issue of great importance to many of your practices, if not most of your practices, deals with bad faith litigation legislation. This past week there were 3 different bills on this issue, and we've talked in our past week's video blogs about this issue and how devastating it could be to your clients' rights to be able to settle cases when they ought to be settled, and for policyholders to continue to have bad faith rights against their insurance companies if those companies unreasonably refuse to settle the case. On day 28, this past Wednesday, there were 3 different bills teed up in 3 different committees, and your GTLA legislative leadership was here to fight those bills. We were successful in killing one bill in a committee, the Senate Bill 502. That bill ultimately was tabled before the Senate Judiciary Committee. We were not as successful in front of the House Insurance Committee, which overwhelmingly passed House Bill 1175. That bill is now in the House Rules Committee. Fortunately, is not going to be on the calendar on Monday, but there is great risk that this bill could be on the floor of the House of Representatives this Wednesday, crossover day. We are trying to work with members of the House Judiciary Committee to take up a 3rd bill dealing with this, House Bill 960, and we're hopeful that we can either block that bill or create a compromise that will not harm the rights of Georgia citizens, Georgia claimants, and Georgia policyholders. We'll continue reporting to you on that. This is an extremely difficult fight. It's us alone against the business community and the insurance industry at large, and many in leadership in the state legislature are siding with the insurance industry at this point, but several of them understand the import of this bill and are working very well with us to try to protect your clients' rights in the bad faith area. Next week will be day 29 and day 30, as I mentioned earlier. This week we expect a lot of just a flurry of activity, particularly around the bad faith issue, And day 30, no doubt, will go to midnight as both chambers work late into the night trying to pass their bills onto the other chamber. We'll be here for all the action, fighting for your clients' rights, fighting for your practice, and fighting for the people of Georgia to make sure that they have their right to access to the courts. And we encourage you to be involved, to respond to the action alerts when we send them, and to help legislators know what a resource you can be for them and how devastating some of this legislation can be to their constituents, the people of Georgia. You can also participate in the legislative process by coming down to the Capitol, being a lawyer of the day. We've gotten great feedback from legislators about our lawyers who come to the Capitol and have been a resource to the legislators as they've looked at important legislation relevant to your practice and your clients' rights. One last thing we want to show you this week is a clip from GTLA's Ice Cream Social, which we hosted here at the state capitol. We got a lot of positive feedback from legislators, including some who don't usually work with us, but they were awfully pleased to enjoy our ice cream brought to them courtesy of Brewster's Ice Cream. And so we're happy to do anything we can to be a resource to legislators, even on the lighter side, during a busy time of the state legislature. That's all we have today from the 2012 legislative session. We encourage you to tune back in next week as we will go through, again, the all-important crossover day, day 30, next week. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm Jason Downey, and I'm chair of the Macon Trial Lawyers Association. Happy to be up here for Macon Day at the Georgia Legislature. This is the ice cream social that we have for the legislature and all the crowd we have. Happy to be up here today.
And I'm Steve Littner. I'm a GTLA member, and I'm also happy to be up here today participating in the GTLA Lawyer of the Day program.
My name is Connor Stigowski, and this is my dad, Brian. My name is Brooke Stigowski. My name is Zach Stigowski. My name is Ben Stigowski. And we all greeted the door today for all the people that walked by, and we said thank you for supporting the GTLA.
And we would like to thank everyone for giving us the opportunity to come down here. And I would like to encourage all the other lawyers in our group to come down and be a lawyer today.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys did great.
Thank you.